to start. Sister Shola, thank you so much. You're on mute.
Yeah, sorry about that. Clearly, it's my old age.
We're getting old now.
Yeah. Doctor has just told me how old I am. I feel terrible.
No.
Okay, welcome everyone and good evening. And thank you for having me so much, Sister Owen. What I love about you, my team at Food for Purpose, we love your energy. We love your energy. I know that you're an extremely hardworking nurse. Whenever I talk to you, you're either coming from work or going to work, but I just love your commitment and your energy. Thank you so much for being a great ambassador for health. And thank you so much for having me this evening. Doctor, thank you so much for your presentation. Bless you and thank you for everything you're doing for the health of the people. I am Shola Oladipo and I'm the CEO of an organization called Food for Purpose. We're a nutrition and wellness platform. We're actually a non-for-profit. In the UK, we call that a CIC or a social enterprise. We're 6 years old in November. My background is I'm actually a dietitian. I've been a dietitian qualified in the UK about 27 years ago. Most of my career has been in the NHS, so everything from acute to community to I went to the dark side. I worked in the food industry as well. And I left the NHS about 5 years ago to start Food for Purpose. Really, I left out of a frustration for the lack of culturally relevant solutions for Black people. I'm also, I serve as a pastor, and I'm also a PhD researcher. And my research is all about the health of the Black majority church, particularly looking at the role of church leaders and their responsibility and responses to calls from the government for health. So I'm really blessed to, do what I love doing. Really blessed to, to talk to God's people, to churches. I'm really blessed also to have a camp in, the scientific world, as it were. Our organization, as I said, is Food for Purpose, and we deliver culturally relevant health solutions across the UK. So here's just some of the organizations we've worked with. So we work with a lot of NHS trusts, we work with charities, we work with housing associations, and yeah, we've really been blessed, and we're delighted that the message is taking off. We are very selfish and we're unapologetic. So our focus is actually Black health, because we know that there are so many health inequalities, particularly in the Black community. I think COVID-19 has taught us so much, hasn't it, particularly about health inequalities. And, I guess being a church leader as well, I'm notoriously aware of the some of the health behaviors of the Black church. My PhD is all about that. And in particular, our propensity towards prayer and sometimes forgetting the physical parts. So again, it's a delight to be here, and I just would like to greet everyone a very, very good evening. A quick disclaimer. So as I said, I'm a registered healthcare professional here in the UK. I'm registered with the HCPC and a member of the British Dietetic Association. Just wanted to say that anything we cover and any questions that I answer today really are not personal advice, because I don't have your medical details, etc. So please don't just run with what you hear today. Don't rely on just what you hear today certainly from me. Please do speak to your registered healthcare professional where you're registered, your GP, if it's private healthcare, whatever it is, please do check in. And if by virtue of, what I've said or what's been said by somebody else on the platform, if, the symptoms or the signs sound like you, please do seek medical help. If you're a Christian or a believer, yes, do pray, but please do also do it, because the Bible says that faith without works is dead. Sadly, a lot of our people, there's high levels of, morbidity and mortality in the Black faith community because we pray a lot and we're not doing. So if you hear something, yes, do pray, but please do something as well. All right, so tonight let's talk cholesterol. And as Dr. has already told us, cholesterol is this kind of waxy, fatty substance that you find in your blood. And actually, I love what, Doctor said. Is it Dr. Ineka?
It's Neddy.
Yes, thank you. I love what you said, Dr. Neddy. You know, cholesterol gets a bad rap. You know, if I was cholesterol, I'd be somewhere in a corner crying, why don't they like me? Please be my friend now. Because cholesterol is not just a bad guy, you know. It's just that when you do too much of anything, it's not good. Even the Bible says, you know, everything in moderation. So cholesterol in moderation is fine. Cholesterol is a good guy. It's when you have too much of the wrong type, things can get, you know, unbalanced. So it's used in our bodies to make hormones, testosterone, estrogen, vitamin D. We wouldn't have those fantastic hormones without cholesterol. Your body makes its own cholesterol. The liver is a fantastic cholesterol factory. It makes its own. And of course, we also affect the levels of cholesterol we have in our bodies by what we eat, especially by eating saturated fat. And as Dr. Neddy said, we have good and bad cholesterol. There are, in fact, about 3 different types of cholesterol. They're the LDLs, the HDLs, and the VLDLs. I'm not going to talk about the VLDLs, but I'm mindful of them because actually they contribute to something called triglycerides. And I hate long words and sessions like this. So just think about the fat in your blood. So I won't talk about VLDLs, but I will be talking about the fat in your blood. And that's generally what we call triglycerides, because VLDLs are like, they're like LDLs, but they actually move into your blood and affect triglycerides, which is the fat circulating in your blood. Anyway, so we've got a family, haven't we? We've got this fatty family. We've got the LDLs, as Dr. mentioned to us, and that is, you know, the bad guys, and they're only bad when you have too much. So we do need a certain level, but too much is a problem. And then we've got the HDLs. I love what you said, Sister Ewen. The HDLs for me is like the hero. The H is for hero. And we need HDLs as well. But more importantly, we need the balance. And the idea is that, you know, the LDL, remember, if your body is making something, particularly for those of us that are Christians, God is not confused. So we can't just say something is bad, you know. Your liver is making it because the cells need it. It's because there's too much of the LDLs that make him bad. So I'm kind of trying to, you know, to be LDL's friend kind of a little bit. It's because when it gets too high, it's bad. The HDLs are the other type that break down, actually, the excess. So we want the HDLs to also be at a good level. So what we're looking at, and what we constantly talk about at Food for Purpose, is balance. So we're avoiding extremes and we're looking for balance. Okay, so what is the big deal? You know, what's the big deal? Well, the big deal is that too much of LDL cholesterol, or the bad cholesterol, can actually build up in your blood. So we don't want that, do we? It can cause a fatty material and that builds up in the walls of your artery. It can block the arteries and stops your blood from flowing. Now, just think about this for a minute. I don't know how many of us drive here, but imagine, I mean, I live in London. I know Sister Owen lives in Birmingham. But imagine, you know, the city centre in London or Birmingham, when the traffic isn't running, how do you feel? When the traffic is blocked, you know, we call it traffic jam, or I know in Lagos, go slow. It's annoying, isn't it? Nothing ain't happening. Man ain't going nowhere, you know, as we say. It's annoying. And, you know, imagine now if you're not getting somewhere on time. So imagine I'm stuck in traffic. Sister Ewen is stuck in traffic. You're stuck in traffic. You can't get to work. So a job is not being done. I can't get to work, so a job is not being done. Sister Ewen can't get to work, so a job is not being done. Now imagine your blood cannot flow. Your blood can't get to work. The blood is carrying oxygen. It's carrying goodies that need to get to the body. If your blood arteries or your blood vessels, which are like pipes, you know, it's like a sophisticated lattice of pipes all around your body. If the blood can't flow, it can't get to work. And if it's carrying oxygen, which is like life, then, you know, we're obviously going to have an issue. Now, the other thing that is the big deal about blood cholesterol is like hypertension. He is silent. People are walking around looking fine, looking like babe, looking like guy on social media. And I'm just looking, I just laugh and say, hey, have you tested your blood recently? You know, because sometimes we don't know. And obviously, you know, my research, I'm a researcher. My research is on Black people, people of faith, a lot of Black people of faith, and their attitudes towards health. And I find that in our community, we do not pay attention to what we cannot see. So honestly, so we say, no, I can't have hypertension because I feel fine. Oh, no, Pastor, I can't have cholesterol. I feel fine. Well, actually, high blood cholesterol, like a lot of other chronic conditions, is generally silent, of course, until it comes, you know, a very late phase, as Doctor was explaining to us earlier, which can sadly lead to, you know, to death. So it's really important that we do pay attention to cholesterol. And I've just got a picture here. Sorry about the quality. It's quite poor quality. But if you look to my left, we've got a blood vessel here that is nice and open. You know, it was lovely, isn't it? When the roads are just open and they're free and you can just drive at 30 miles an hour everywhere, you know, and get to your destination. But look at the middle one, where my cursor is. It's 40% blocked. So the blood is actually trying to get somewhere, isn't it? Now, unlike traffic, you know, when traffic is slowed down, everyone has to slow down from 30 miles an hour to, I don't know, 20 or 10 miles an hour. The blood doesn't slow down. The heart thinks, I need to pump harder because there's a blockage, you know, so it tries to pump harder. Guess what happens? Blood pressure increases. So your blood is now moving through your body, rushing at 70 miles an hour. It should be doing 30, but because there's a blockage, it's putting extra energy. And of course, your blood pressure's high. But what's happening also is your body is working harder. So your heart now is working harder. So you're 40 years old, but actually, if you've got 40% blocked blood vessel, your heart is probably 60 years old, even though you're 40. Do you see? So look what happens when it's 95% blocked. Well, to be honest, I don't know if you know, the medics in the house can speak into this during the question time, but really 95% block, I'd be surprised if you had much, you know, much life in you. But we have people, brothers and sisters online, that are walking around right now that, you know, easily 40% blocked, easily. So it's so important that you are paying attention. It's so important that you are having your cholesterol checked. I think Dr. Andrew rightly said in the UK, in the NHS, by the age of 40, something about 40, people say life begins at 40. I say blood test begins at 40, but they will invite you, your GP will invite you. Now, just to say, if at all you are curious, you don't have to, but if you can, in the UK, you can actually buy a home cholesterol test. You can buy them at Superdrug. I think it's about £40 in Superdrug, similar in Boots. You do a needle prick test. You put a little blood sample on a slide, and then you send it off, and you get your results in about 2 to 3 days. If you're worried, if you're concerned, please do it. I know some of us, you know, just look straight, they won't know I'm talking about you, but you know, some of us, we love to party, innit? And we'll pay £40 for Ashwebi, we'll pay £40, you know, to take Uber, we'll pay £40 to have our hair and makeup done, you get me? So in case, you know, you're not at the age yet, but you're thinking, okay, I've just been listening tonight and I'm thinking, if you do have it, please do use it. If not, you know what? If not, go lobby your GP and just say, I've been to Divinely Classic. I heard this lady talking, as she said, you know, I might have risks. Your GP is very unlikely to turn you away because they want to help us. So it's really important that we're thinking about the blockage. Okay, so Doctor earlier on talked about cardiovascular disease, which is kind of the diseases that affect the heart and the blood vessels. Now, cardiovascular disease is a leading cause of death in the UK. I'm always sad to say, but I always, I feel that I have to share. Sadly, I lost my younger brother, who was 49 years old, and he died of a cardiac arrest, which he died in Nigeria, sadly. But it was related to obesity and having blockages. So the autopsy showed awful blockages of major arteries. So I just want us to know that this stuff is real. It's been too close to me, in terms of too close to home for me. So he lived in the UK, went to Nigeria on holiday and passed out and died. But this was, you know, sadly, you know, prior to that, we've been talking to him about, you know, changing, making changes. And, you know, brethren, it's small changes. And you know what? Can I say to you, he had started making small changes, but guess what? It was too late. He started making changes when he was about 45. He died at 49. And we suspect that, you know, remember I showed you no blockage, 40% blockage, 95% blockage. We suspect that the fatty deposits, when they did the autopsy, you know, they were in the chest cavity. They're around the blood vessels, in the blood vessels. I say this, it breaks my heart, but I'm saying it because this is how important it is. Young people, 49 is young people are dying. Now, up to 80% of premature deaths are caused by cardiovascular disease. The thing is that cardiovascular disease, like many chronic illnesses, are avoidable. It's not you must have it, you know, it's avoidable. So some of the risk factors that doctor talked about, you know, obesity, not being active enough, and please don't forget diabetes. You know, sometimes people act as though you know, high blood cholesterol just acts independently. If you're living with diabetes, especially uncontrolled diabetes, what's happening is that your blood vessels also are affected. So what we call it sugaring. So the sugar makes the blood vessels harder. You know, have you ever, you know, like spilled a sugary drink on a surface? It's hard, you know, it's sticky and it makes it hard. And what happens is the blood vessels are not very flexible, so they should be quite smooth and flexible. So if you have type 2 diabetes that is uncontrolled, you're also at risk of cardiovascular diseases, because remember, it's about those blood vessels and the traffic being able to move. So it's not just about, you know, oh, high blood cholesterol happens in isolation. If you're living with obesity or overweight, we also know that there's a risk of the fat in your blood, the circulating fat. Remember the VLDLs I promised not to talk about, the circulating fat or triglycerides, that is carrying a lot of stuff as well. And that deposits on, if you've got diabetes, uncontrolled, they're very sugary solution. That's sticky. The blood is sticky and clumpy and it's not moving smoothly. Remember, if it's not moving smoothly, it's not getting to where it needs to go. It's not getting to the brain. It's not getting to the heart. It's not getting to the lungs. And therefore people are getting unwell, but it is avoidable. Now, you know, in terms of ethnicity and cardiovascular disease, most recent research, interestingly actually, says that Black people have a significantly lower risk of heart disease compared to the majority population. However, however, we have a higher than average risk of death from hypertension and stroke. So, you know, I want you to see the facts, because you might, after this, you might Google it and say, you know, Google Black people and heart disease. And you might say, it says we have a low risk of heart disease. You might say, well, you know, that's okay. It is not okay, because we have a high risk of hypertension. Remember, hyper means high and over. The tension is the blood vessels, because the blood is going so fast at 70 miles an hour, because it's blocked and it wants to reach the destination. So please remember that these are not things happening in isolation. I think Ewen said they're all intertwined. So the prevalence, you know, of hypertension is a risk factor. The prevalence of hypertension is a risk factor for stroke in Africans and people from the West Indies. And of course, so is obesity, so is inactivity. So what I'm saying is you might read some facts about heart disease, but please don't feel that we are not at risk. There is still a risk. I don't want to scare you. I want to keep it real so that we can act, right? All right. So the other, just out of interest, there are some other risks that also we ought to also be aware of in terms of high cholesterol. It's a major risk for us. But other risks for, you know, heart disease are smoking. Doctor spoke about this before. High blood pressure, physical inactivity. Now, you know, health promoters in the UK, they used to say 30 minutes a day, 3 times a week, which is still important. But now the guidance is even saying 11 minutes a day will still make a significant difference. So if you're thinking, oh my goodness, I'm so busy, I don't have 30 minutes, just think that 11 minutes a day will also make a difference. And I know, Ewen, I love your post. I know you go for regular walks. If you can't do 30 minutes like Ewen, do 10 minutes. At least do what I'm saying is do something. Doing that little something is better than nothing, please. And if you're not mobile, please, there are chair exercises that you can do to still be active. Diabetes, obviously being Southeast Asian, is a risk. And also if you have a family history of premature death from heart disease, please do get yourself checked. Really, really important. Okay, we've talked about, doctor has talked about blood levels in terms of, the types of cholesterol. I just wanted to talk about your measures. So some people say to me, so, what should my levels be? So we have, when you have your blood test taken, you'll see different things on the sheet. So total blood cholesterol is a mixture of the HDLs, the LDLs, and the VLDLs that I said I'm not going to talk about. And total blood cholesterol should be about 5 or less. Let's go for the less. So let's be aiming for 4. If it's above 5, then we're looking at potential risks. All right. The LDL, remember we said that the LDL is the bad cholesterol. We need to keep this guy, for him to behave himself, we need to keep him below 3. In fact, if you have high risk in your family, below 2. And HDL, the hero, we want that to be higher, so above 1 millimole. Now, a low level of, so you could have normal LDL. If you have a low level of HDL, the hero, you're still at risk. Do you see? So it's not just about, it's the whole picture. So when you have your blood cholesterol done, and your doctor or the nurse says, oh yeah, your cholesterol's 4. That's not good enough. Ask them, what is the breakdown? Can I see the breakdown? We want the HDL level to be above 1. Really, really important. All right. So what's the big deal? The right level of cholesterol is vital for healthy living. So let's talk about food. So I want you to shout out the foods that you can see and just tell me from your thought whether it is a cholesterol risk or is it safe to eat. So actually, let me shout out and you can shout back. So the first one is sausage. Now, doctor already mentioned sausage, so you should know. Sausage, is it high cholesterol or is it a risk or is it safe?
Come on, people. You can shout out. You can put it in the comment section. Sausages.
Sausages.
Are they good? Are they bad? High or low cholesterol? What do you think?
Bad.
They're bad. Yeah.
Bad. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. And I will say that to be honest, I'll backtrack a bit. To be honest, there are no really good or bad foods. It's how much of them that we eat. But I will say that sausages tend to contain a lot of saturated fat. And I want to burst some myths here today. A lot of the time people say, oh, I don't have to eat low cholesterol foods because they raise blood cholesterol. The research shows us that it is saturated fat that raises LDL cholesterol. Sausages are high in saturated fat. And that's why they raise LDL cholesterol. Okay, so we've talked about sausages. What about the shin? What about the jollof rice? Come on, family, let's
jollof rice. Come on, people.
Shin, is that high in saturated fat? Is that low? What effect is that going to have on our blood cholesterol, the shin? What's it going to do to LDLs or HDLs? I will call names, though. I'm shameless like that. I'll call names.
Yeah. What do you think, people? Jollof rice. Oh, I had some jollof rice. Somebody said leave my jollof alone. And we will leave jollof, boy.
Let's talk. What will jollof do to your blood cholesterol? What will it do to the LDLs? What will it do to the HDLs? What do we think?
Hmm.
God, everyone's so quiet.
I bet people are thinking, like, really? Why are you talking about our jollof, our precious jollof?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with jollof, but let's talk. What will it do? Will it raise LDL or will it decrease LDL? Will it raise HDL or decrease it? What will it do?
I don't know if it will, that's me talking now from a layman point of view, if it will do much harm, because it depends. Does it depend on the oil that you use?
Thank you. And this is what, do you remember I said there's no such thing as a good food or a bad food per se? It depends how you cook your jollof. So what do we have in jollof rice? We have rice. Yeah. The rice is likely to do very little to your blood cholesterol.
Yes.
Let's talk about the fat. So the oil, and it's the amount of oil that you're using, basically. So if you're using too much oil, but then if you're using when you boil your meat and you have that, that's the fat that sits on that. Some people like to cook with it because they say it is sweet, it's sweet, it's sweet. It may be sweet. I don't doubt that it's sweet, but it's saturated fat. When you allow it to cool, you see the white fat at the top. Some people add that to their jollof because they say it gives it some kind of taste. That will make that jollof rice raise the LDL cholesterol, yeah? So, exactly, jollof rice can be harmless in the right amount, but it's how you're cooking it. How much oil are you using and what type of oil? Are you using the fat from after you boil the meat? Or are you using a unsaturated fat, which we'll talk about in a minute, like a vegetable oil or canola oil? Okay, so let's talk about, we've got shin. Let's talk about meat pie. Let's talk about meat pie. How will that affect our blood cholesterol?
Coming from a caterer, I would say hi, because the meat pie is flour, which we're not talking about now, but the butter.
Absolutely.
And if you want to make your meat pie rich, some people do 50-50 flour, butter, you increase the butter so that when people eat it, they want to come back. But coming from a cholesterol angle, not great.
Absolutely, you're very correct. And actually, I remember doing food economics or home economics, sorry, way back when I was a girl, and I remember learning about making. The pastry would be so flaky, and it melts in your mouth if you use butter or lard. If you use lard, that thing will be so light and fluffy, but it will raise the LDLs. Remember, we want to keep the LDLs down and we want to raise the HDLs, yeah? We want to raise the good cholesterol, the hero, and we want to keep the low, the LDLs down. So meat pie will raise the LDLs because of the amount of fat. And you're right, people keep coming back because it's the texture of the pastry. So any pastries will raise the bad cholesterol. Does that mean we have to stop eating pastries? No, not at all. It just means we need to regulate it, all right? All right, what about corn? Corn, what effect will that have on our cholesterol? Up for the LDLs, or what will it do to the bad cholesterol? Gosh, this is a quiet bunch.
Yeah. Can we answer, please? This is the quiz section. If you've learned anything.
It shouldn't do anything on its own unless you add butter. And most people like to add butter.
Thank you. How do I pronounce your name?
Zoliswa. Most people call me Lisa.
Oh, Zoliswa, thank you. You're exactly right. So on its own, it's fantastic. In fact, the corn will actually, fresh corn, I'm talking about, the freshly grilled or boiled corn, will have a positive effect on the heroes, on the HDLs. It will increase the HDL. So the HDLs will be happy. However, like Lisa said, if you add butter, now you're affecting the properties of the corn to do its good job because, of course, the butter would be saturated fat. Does that mean we shouldn't add any, never ever? No, it doesn't. It just means that you need to be careful. So it's about us making an informed choice about our foods. So what about this king of foods? Can everyone see this? This is amala with gbegiri, stew, and ewedu. It's called king of foods in my husband's town, Ibadan. What's that going to do to us and why? How is that going to affect our cholesterol?
Let's share our thoughts, please, because I just don't want to be talking and, asking and answering questions. So please, what do you think, Amala?
Well, the whole...
I would say if eating in proportion is not going to affect our cholesterol, but the stew, the way we cook the stew can now affect it, because if we put, we used to put shaki, all those fatty
roundabouts,
roundabouts and everything. Yeah, so that can now make it bad.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you. You're absolutely right. Can I just say, as a Black dietitian, that there's nothing wrong with our foods in Africa and the Caribbean. It's just as Caroline has said, it's how much of it we eat and how we prepare it. So amala, gbegiri, stew, and ewedu is a perfect balance. You've got your carbs, you've got your fiber. Gbegiri is beans. You've got your beans. Beans have a fantastic effect on LDL cholesterol. It brings down cholesterol, beans. So gbegiri is it not beans? It's beans. And the ewedu is our vegetable, that's our greens. Fantastic effect again on LDL cholesterol. It brings it down. However, it's what we do to the stew, which meats we have in there, how much of the fat we have on our meat. So I guess I'm showing this slide so that you can see that our food is not so bad, but it's how we do it, how we cook it, and also how often we eat it. So, I don't want to hear people saying to me, oh, well, you have to stop eating shinshin. No, that's not right. You don't have to. But what you have to do is to consider how often and how much of shinshin you will eat. Is it a treat once in a while, or is it every day? You don't have to stop eating meat pie, but hey, think about how often you're eating it, who made it, and what they're putting in it. Is there any way to switch that up a bit? Okay, I'm going to move on. And kind of the message there was, number one, there's nothing wrong with our foods. So yes, leave jollof rice alone, but you make sure that your jollof rice is something that your cholesterol, that the LDL cholesterol and the HDL cholesterol will behave well. They will not misbehave. So we'll talk next about, fat, the quality and the quantity. We've talked about being more active already. Eating more fiber is so important. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. When I'm talking about fiber, can you shout out so I know that we're on the same page? What foods are we talking about when we say fiber? I think Doctor also mentioned it. Yeah, so I'm talking here about beans and pulses.
Beans, corn.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Caroline. See, I've got my friends. I've got Lisa, I've got Caroline. I've got a few friends in the room. Yay. So, thank you. Well done. Thank you. So beans, if you think about beans, particularly in Africa and the Caribbean, we've got our fritters, we've got our moi moi steamed beans, you've got your boiled beans, your honey beans, your ewa goin. All those, beans are fine. You've got gbegiri, it's a type of beans, black eye beans, they're absolutely fine. Again, it's what we're doing to them. Beans are a great way of actually managing blood cholesterol, LDL cholesterol. It brings it down. Also, for those who live with type 2 diabetes, brilliant for blood glucose control. Beans. So instead of eating meat every day, have some meat-free days and have beans. Really important. Eat more fruit and vegetables. In Africa and the Caribbean, we are blessed with thousands, literally thousands of fruit and vegetables. So plenty of vegetables. In the UK, they recommend 5 a day, not just 5 fruit and not just 5 vegetables, but a mixture. I would say have more veggie than fruit. So you can have kale, ugu, okra, ewedu, all the bitter leaf. They're all part of vegetables. A garden egg is vegetables. Spinach, vegetables. Kale, cucumber, carrot, have plenty of vegetables. In fact, when you're having your meal, half of your plate should be vegetables. Being more physically active, we kind of talked about that, and to stop smoking. I cannot overemphasize stopping smoking. You know, the effect it has on your blood cholesterol is amazing. Also, I wanted to say that you may do all of these things. I just wanted to say, you know, sometimes people say, but I'm eating well, you know, why is my blood cholesterol still uncontrolled? Please don't be there arguing. If you need medication, please do take it if you need it. Please don't just think, you know, oh, but I'm eating well, you know, the test must be wrong or whatever. If you need it, you might. If you do, please do take it. Now, we do know that some of the medications used for controlling cholesterol or blood lipids do have side effects. But, you know, I will say that if you do have side effects, please speak to your GP. It's not just one. There are different types that you can be on before you find one that hopefully has minimal side effects. But please don't run away from the medication because you're afraid of the side effects, because, you know, as we're talking about, this is real. So if you have changed your diet, please imagine that you could use it. And remember, you can still pray as well. You can still pray, but you might need medication. All right, so let's talk about fat. Let's talk about fat. And, you know, like mankind, yes, Ewen, did you have your hand
Yeah,
up?
I wanted to ask a question.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shola.
Go for it.
Dr. Eweka mentioned in the comment section, he said, Gary, you know, for me, it's not as if I'm saying Gary hasn't got fiber, but is it that it's got low fiber? Because I normally don't class, when I eat ever, I don't think, I'd rather eat oats because I know oats are fiber-rich meal than Gary.
Let's talk about that. Yeah, absolutely. So let's take a step back, because Gary is the processed product of cassava. I'm trying to look for the word of cassava refinement. So Gary in itself is not an issue. It's how much you eat. Of all of the swallow family, Gary is the highest in carbohydrate. Yeah, so gram for gram, Gary is the highest in carbohydrate. I'm not saying don't eat it, but just be aware. In terms of fiber, it is not as high as, it's not as high as fufu that is made from cassava, which you boiled and pounded. So if you think about refining, if you think about food refinement, especially those swallow family, they all started as a tuber, apart from oat fufu, which oats, you know, started from as a plant. But let's think of the tubers. They all started as a tuber. The best way to eat our tuber is not as a powder. The best way to eat our tubers in general, very generally, is to boil the tuber and pound it, because you keep the fiber. If you refine it, each level of refinement, you know, from stage 1, stage 2, you lose fiber. So those of you that eat poundo, it started as a yam tuber. The end product is fiberless, literally fiberless, because it's all been refined, you know, it's been taken out. So let's go back to Gary then. Gary is okay, but it is not what I'd call a high fiber swallow. Doesn't mean you shouldn't eat it, but it means you should be aware. So the best way to enjoy your swallows, so is it plantain fufu, boil your plantain and pound it. You can do it at home with a hand blender or with the spoon. Boil your yam and pound it. Boil your cassava and pound it. It takes a while, but you know, that's it. But yes, so Dr. Eweka is correct in terms that Gary is not high in fiber, or incorrect. I don't know what the doctor's question was actually, but Gary is not that high in fiber. Yeah. Okay.
It did say it's rich in high fiber content, which helps in digestive health.
Yeah,
Gary can be soaked in cold water with milk to make it creamy, and when consumed, the fiber content increases. I think it helps to make one fuller. Okay, helps in quick digestion and sustains one from hunger for some time, and also eliminates the chances of constipation. I want to query that, Dr. Eweka.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, we've done a whole study of all of the swallows, and because of the processing, that's the word I'm looking for, because of the processing of cassava, that process, Gary does, you know what, all of our carbs, all of our starchy carbs have some fiber. Unfortunately, Gary doesn't come up there as you know, the high fiber, oat fufu, and perhaps pounded yam made from the fresh tuber. But oat fufu is at the top. I wouldn't say Gary is, you know, therefore bad, but I would just say be careful, because it's the highest in terms of carbohydrate load. Yeah, it's a big fat grain. It's a fat grain. Yeah, it does create satiety because it's a fat grain. You add fluid to it and it swells. So it does definitely do that. But in terms of I don't know, you know, the fiber content per se, I wouldn't put it at the top, but I certainly wouldn't bastardize it and say it was, you know, harmful. But I wouldn't count it as, yeah, the higher fiber. It's, if you're living with type 2 diabetes, Gary, Ebba are the ones that would say, you know, the portion would be smaller. Yeah, because of that carbohydrate load and how it behaves in the bloodstream.
Thank you so much, Ma. And what I wanted to say concerning what Dr. Eweka said earlier about did he say it eliminates the chances of constipation? Why I want to query that is because sometimes when you've got diarrhea, you can take Gary and it's, you know, it works for me. It's kind of seals, it just reduces that. I personally think Gary on its own, like dry Gary, does cause constipation. But maybe when you make it like Eba or whatever, yeah, it reduces the risk of constipation. But Gary can, because it's hard, like you said, is
correct. It's a big fat grain. So what it does in its dry form, it closes a plug. That's why it stops diarrhea. Dry Gary, it's a plug. It's like a plug. It's the same thing, you know, like something like chia seeds do the same thing. Put chia seeds in water, it will create a plug. So Gary does a very similar thing. It creates a plug. Yeah, but it's good. I'm not saying it's bad, but I wouldn't say eat plenty of Gary because it's high in fiber, because of that carbohydrate load is quite high compared to the other swallow family. Yeah. Okay, should we talk fat?
You can carry on now. Thank you for the contribution, everybody.
Thank you for the questions. And you know, it's good to have these, you know, these questions. It's so important actually. So thank you so much for the questions. Can you all still see my screen? Okay, so let's talk about fat. You know, we talk about fat, but not all fats are created equally. On my left, we've got olive oil, which is a mono unsaturated fat. And the key term that we're looking for here in terms of health of our blood cholesterol, we want more unsaturated fat. So we've got olive oil, unsaturated fat, that gets a tick. We've got butter here, saturated fat, we need to be careful. We've got corn oil here, unsaturated fat, it gets a tick, but the tick is not as big as olive oil. We've got rapeseed oil, gets a nice tick. Another name for rapeseed oil that you might see is canola oil, C-A-N-O-L-A, canola oil. Yeah, very similar family. And then we have one of my favorite topics, one of my good friends, we have the palm oil, palm kernel, and I'll talk about that. So does that get a tick or a cross? Somebody kind of asked the question, so I'm throwing it back to you. What do we reckon? What's it going to do to blood cholesterol?
Is it the palm oil now or everything?
Yes, no, palm oil. I'm just asking about palm oil. Okay.
What do you think, people? Palm oil, is it high for your cholesterol, or the bad cholesterol, or low?
What's it going to do to our LDL cholesterol? What's it going to do to the HDL cholesterol? Okay, everyone's silent. All right, we'll come.
Raise the bad guys.
Beg your pardon?
I think it will raise the bad guys.
You think it will raise the bad guys? Thank you. Okay, we'll hold that thought. We'll come back to that. But thank you for sharing that. What about coconut oil? We've got coconut oil.
We've been told that it's very good
For
cooking.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. So if I said to you that coconut oil is 98% saturated fat, does that sound like it's going to be good for your LDL cholesterol? What do you think it would do from what I've already mentioned about saturated fat? What will it do to LDL cholesterol?
Bad, isn't it?
It will raise, yes, it will raise LDL cholesterol because it is saturated fat. So let's go through this.
It's been promoted as the good, even though I don't like it.
My auntie, please help me.
I'm
just a humble healthcare professional trying to do my humble. The marketeers have blocked our ears. People will not hear a word again. Coconut oil is 99% saturated fat. It will therefore raise LDL cholesterol. It is good for your hair, for your skin, for your dry feet, for your elbow. If you're using it for cooking, remember I said there's nothing in nature that is inertly bad. But if you're using it, bear in mind the effect it has on LDL cholesterol and use it sparingly. Because I have to say there are some dishes that taste great with coconut oil or coconut milk. But you now know the effect it has on LDL cholesterol. So what do? Do we get rid of it completely? No, we use less of it. Lard, again, is saturated fat.
May I ask about the milk, the coconut milk? Is it
yes.
the oil?
Yes, the coconut milk is not the same as the oil. So the oil is all fat. The milk has had water added to it. So it has less of the fat, but it's still quite high in fat. But people do cook with it. So if you look in the stores, you'll see tinned coconut milk and you'll see low fat tinned coconut milk. Those are the ones that we would recommend you use. It works really well with rice and peas. It works well if you make a wache. So please do feel free to still use coconut milk, use the low fat tin, or use the full fat, but use half of it. Or, you know what, use all of it. At the end of the day, wisdom is the principal thing. I'm giving you the information. You decide how you use the information. Now we know that coconut milk is high in saturated fat. It will raise LDL cholesterol. It doesn't mean we can never use it, but you either use the half fat or you use full fat, but use less of it and eat it less often. But it's very good for your skin, Sha. Okay, then we've got lard. Lard is 100% saturated fat. But lard is that thing, you know, the pastry. Oh, so flaky and so nice. But again, we know it raises blood LDL cholesterol. So let's go a little bit deeper. So we've kind of set the scene now, haven't we, for fat. So let's talk about saturated fat. Saturated fat is often the fat that you find on meat. Not always, but often, because now we know that we also see it in coconut milk. So saturated fat is the fat, and it's usually visible, isn't it? You can usually see it. If you buy beef, it's kind of a white, thick, blob. On pork, you can see it. On lamb, you can see it. Goat meat, you can see it. It's on a lot of the skin of the, chicken, skin of the turkey. If you buy what I call inners, there tends to be quite a lot of fat around the inners. So like shaki, a body, kidney, you can see the fat around it, can't you? It's white and quite thick. If you ever want to know what saturated fat feels like, feel the fat that is with your kidney. It's quite thick, and cow foot, you often see the fat around it. Chofi is a dish that's, I don't know if anyone on the line is from Ghana. It's what they call turkey bum, which is quite fatty, and then it's often fried. So it's quite fatty. All of these are high in saturated fat. Now, excess intake of saturated fat will increase the levels of LDL, and inflammation. So remember, we talked about those blood vessels that are lined with fat. What they do, they cause your body to be in a state of what we call inflammation. So they're releasing what we call free radicals or dangerous chemicals. And the only way I can describe these chemicals is like Mike Tyson is living in your blood vessel and he's punching you every day. Free radicals are punching you every day in your blood vessels. And that's what causes a state called inflammation. For many people, it manifests as pain. It manifests as damaged blood vessels and tissues, and it puts you at risk of chronic illness, such as type 2 diabetes. So it's important that we understand that inflammation is also a thing with high levels of cholesterol. So saturated fat is mainly found in animal sources, so hot dogs, pepperoni, fatty parts of the meat, cream, which comes from milk, ice cream, full fat milk or whole milk, cheeses, butter, lard, and the baked and fried snack food, cookies, pastries, croissant, puff puff, buns, shin shin, kelewele, all those things that we love to fry. Remember, we're not saying that they are now banned. We're just saying now I have more knowledge. I will be careful how I eat these. Saturated fat, however, is not just found in animal foods, because I've talked about palm oil and coconut oil, but this is what it looks like. Does this look familiar to you when you go to the butcher? And this is actually goat meat. And let's be honest, when we buy goat meat, sometimes we say, no, it looks too dry. It needs to have some fatty parts, and that's quite true. Sometimes when there's no marbling, like this part, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but this part here, the marbling gives it what we call a very good mouth feel. When you're just chewing and it's just so dry and fiber, it gives it lubrication. But this part, friends and family, please leave this for the butcher. Leave it there. Don't take him home. He's not a good friend. He's not somebody to bring home. All right. I'm going to talk about trans fats only because we're living in a society, and I'm coming back to vegetable sources of saturated fat. I'm going to talk about trans fat because we live in a society where we are now have so many ultra refined foods, and they are linked to heart disease. And basically, in the food industry, they created what we call hydrogenated fats. Hydrogenated fats are found in, when you buy things like biscuits, cakes, sausage rolls, meat pies, and you look on the label, they should be banned in the UK, but do you know what? When I do my research and look at labels, I'm still seeing them. Hydrogenated fats are basically, they've used a solid fat and they've added hydrogen in the food processing template, and therefore they've made that solid fat behave like a liquid, and it has a long shelf life. So when you see something like I don't know if people I don't know if you can get it in the UK, but gala in Nigeria is a very good example. It has a long shelf life. Gala, you buy it and it can last for a while. That's because it contains hydrogenated fat. Have you noticed at home when you make your own sausage roll at home, how long does it last? Does it last for 6 months? No, ma. Because it doesn't contain hydrogen. After a while, fat goes rancid. Fat becomes stale. But the ones that we see on the shelf that's been sitting there for like some weeks, sometimes, is because it contains hydrogenated fats. These fats behave the same as saturated fat, and they increase LDL cholesterol. Can you imagine? They don't just increase LDL cholesterol, they have the audacity to decrease the heroes. Nonsense and ingredients. So look at the labels, please. Look at it will say hydrogenated fats. It's usually cheap, quick snacks. Don't buy it. Let's talk about the monounsaturated fat. The unsaturated fats are the order of the day. Unsaturated fats, these are oils that we get from things like olives, olive oil, rapeseed or canola oil, peanut oil, nuts and nut butters. So peanut butter actually has a lot of unsaturated fats. But be careful, because sometimes they add other ingredients. Again, read your label. Unsaturated fats also are polyunsaturated fats, and that includes safflower oil, sunflower oil, corn oil, soybean oil, cottonseed oils, and nuts. And also, let's take it back home. Those of us that are from Africa, egusi is very good for unsaturated fat, and ogbono. They're seeds. Are they not seeds? They're wild melon seeds. But you see, do you see they're good? But what do? We now go and add extra oil. Eh? So they're very good. So do you remember I said that there's nothing wrong with our foods? We are blessed with good foods. It's just what we do with them. So mono unsaturated fats, very good. Sister Ewan and I talked about olive oil earlier, I think in last week. And the thing about olive oil is there are different types. So you have virgin olive oil. It is not designed for cooking. Virgin olive oil, you know, the cold pressed. It's very thick. It almost looks greeny, very, very thick. It's not designed for heating at all. They usually just drizzle it onto their bread in the Mediterranean, or they would perhaps eat it with some olives or some tomatoes. Generally, olive oil, you can buy it in the supermarket. There are types that are not designed for cooking. If in doubt, read the label. When you heat it, what happens is it reaches a smoking point, and all the benefits of the unsaturated nature are lost. And often we can see this with a lot of oil. If we overheat any oils to their smoking point, they start to behave like saturated fats. And the effect they will have on your blood cholesterol is they will rise it. And they will have the audacity to lower the heroes, the HDLs. So really important, let's stop burning our oil. I know that means, we shouldn't be eating as much designer stew, ayamashi, burning it until it smokes. But what you're doing when you're burning it is you're changing it from one state to another, more dangerous state. And in those dangerous states, they not only behave like saturated fat, raising LDL cholesterol, they also contain free radicals, increasing inflammation to your body, cell damage. So really important. Am I saying we shouldn't eat ayamashi and designer stew? No, but again, I'm saying be careful, because what we're doing is taking things from their normal state. So unsaturated fats are the order of the day, yeah? They're good for HDL cholesterol and they lower LDL cholesterol, so unsaturated fats. And there's a group of unsaturated fats called omega-3. And they're a type of fat that are protective for our heart. They are our friend. We should be inviting them over for dinner. And they're especially found in cold water fish, salmon, tuna, herring, mackerel, anchovies, mind the salt, because anchovies are very, very salty. But they all contain omega-3. And then we get plant sources of omega-3, which can be found in flax seeds, chia seeds, and walnuts. Okay, so let's go back to one of my favorite topics, which is palm oil. And I asked a question, is it good or bad? And the thing about palm oil is that we need to answer this question. Which part of the palm fruit are you talking about? There's two parts of the palm fruit. You've got the yellow or orange flesh, and you've got the palm kernel, which is white. Let me talk about the palm kernel first. The palm kernel is 99% saturated fat. Yes, 99% saturated fat. And it's used in the food industry to make biscuits, cakes, along with hydrogenated fats. It's very cheap. Yeah, and people use palm kernel oil for all sorts of things, for making soap, for making detergents, all sorts of products. It's like a waste product. It's very, very high in saturated fat. So if you're asking me, is palm kernel oil good for cholesterol? I would say no, not palm kernel oil. The palm kernel oil at room temperature is liquid and it looks very yellowy. Now let's talk about red palm oil. That one is interesting. So public health in the UK, because they haven't really understood our diet, they will say to you, oh no, don't use it, it's bad for you. But when you look at the breakdown, it's only 49% saturated fat. And it's 37% monounsaturated fat. So it's a little bit harmful in terms of the composition, but it's also got some benefits. It's got some unsaturated fat. Now, the added benefit is that it's high in beta carotene. Often in nature, any fruits and vegetables that are orange or yellowy or red are high in antioxidants, which are protective. So, you know, we've been talking about free radicals. The ones that protect us from free radicals are antioxidants. So the answer to palm oil is red palm oil contains about 50% saturated fat. The rest is unsaturated. So should we use it? We can use it, but don't use it too often. But please, let's not bastardize red oil, because it's, you know, it's the backbone to many of our dishes, particularly in West Africa. But don't use too much of it, because it does contain saturated fat, but not as much as coconut oil, which is 90-something%. However, palm kernel oil is 90-something% saturated fat. Please be careful with it. Yes, please.
I have a question.
Go for it.
Is that me? Is that my hand up or is somebody else's?
I can't see hands. Sorry, I'm only seeing the screen.
Yeah, it's just me. Because it's pretty confusing when we talk about palm kernel oil and palm oil. So palm kernel oil is the small one, if I remember. That's the fruit. We do have a seed inside. I remember as kids.
It's the seed. That's it. Look at this.
Yeah, because as kids, I remember we used to break that seed. It's very sweet though. We used to eat it with gari then. So, and you know, okay, they get oil from that.
Yes.
So is it that one? Because I don't use that palm kernel oil anymore.
Most people don't use it anymore. To be fair, most people no longer use it.
So is it fair to say that is the bad one, but our palm oil, we can, you know, it's not that bad.
I love that. The palm kernel, the little seed, if you can look at the slide, please, you'll see the white. That is the bad one. This one, the red oil, is not bad, but it has 49% saturated fat. We know saturated fat raises LDL cholesterol, right? So, but it's not bad, it's 49%. So are you now saying that for all of that dishes that we have, we should not use it? No, like everything else, we will use it sensibly and in moderation. But what I'm telling you is that because it's red or orange, it also comes with benefits. It is high in beta carotene, which is an antioxidant. So God in his wisdom has given us the palm kernel, the palm fruit, with different parts. You've got the nut, very high, bad. Then you've got the fruit, which is orangey. So it's got 49% fat, but it's also high in beta carotene. Let me be clearer. Beta carotene, I'm talking about vitamin A. So, and which is very good for eyes. So should we say now we should not eat red oil again? For some people, that is a major source, particularly in West Africa and other African countries. It's a major source of vitamin A. So we balance it. Do you remember what I said at the beginning? When it comes to food, everything is about balance. So let's not bastardize red oil, but let's not be unwise either. It is still fat. Use in moderation. Okay, I'm going to move on because of time. Coconut oil, as I've said to you, it is, you know, some fats are a giveaway. Some fats will announce themselves. If a fat is presenting himself to you and he's solid at room temperature, my people, please know that it's going to be high in saturated fat. So red oil, have you noticed, is quite solid at room temperature. It's telling you that I contain some saturated fat. Coconut oil is solid at room temperature. He's announcing himself to you, hello, I have saturated fat. So it's telling you, I can be okay, but don't use too much because it will raise blood glucose. Blood cholesterol, LDL cholesterol, yeah? All right, so healthy fats, all fats, even olive oil, you know, and rapeseed oil, all of them need to be eaten in moderation. So don't leave and say, well, you know, Sister Shola said we should just drink plenty of olive oil. We should eat corn oil, oil. I never said, oh, I said in moderation, because too much of any fat is excess calories. And therefore we need to be, it's all about balance. It's all about balance. Okay. So let's talk about cholesterol-rich food, because this is another myth that we need to bust. People say, I don't eat prawns, I don't eat certain eggs. People say, I don't eat eggs because they're high in cholesterol. Some foods are naturally high in cholesterol. However, they are not the culprits that we should be looking at. For instance, eggs, seafood in general tends to be naturally high in cholesterol. Kidney and liver. Why wouldn't liver be high? Remember, your liver makes cholesterol, so it's naturally high in cholesterol. However, these are not necessarily the culprits in raising LDL cholesterol. The culprit is saturated fat. So put more attention on saturated fat than on the fact that they are high in cholesterol. So for instance, cheese is high in cholesterol. The reason that we're being careful with cheese is not because of the cholesterol, it's because it's high also in saturated fat. Look at salami or, you know, pepperoni. It's high in cholesterol, but the issue is the saturated fat. Yeah, so don't run away from eggs, please. Eggs are a very good source of protein and a good source of healthy fats. However, don't overdo it either. So people say they don't eat prawns because they're high in cholesterol. Yes, prawns and shrimp is high in cholesterol, but they're not your problem. They are low fat. Do you see? So it's saturated fat is the number one principle that will raise LDL cholesterol. I know it sounds a little bit confusing. All right, finally, I'm going to talk about hyperlipidemia, because I've just told you that cholesterol-rich foods are not an issue. However, they are an issue if you have a diagnosis called familial hyperlipidemia. If you have it, you will know. By now, you will know. And basically, some people, like 1 in 500 people, have an inherited family condition, and it's called familial hypercholesterolemia or hyperlipidemia, familial. And basically, they tend to have an underactive thyroid. They tend to have kidney problems. And often people who drink too much alcohol can also fall into this category. But in general, if you don't have this condition, you should be able to eat things like eggs and prawns, no problem. But be careful how you're cooking them, because the issue is saturated fat. If you have this type of familial hypercholesterolemia or hyperlipidemia, your doctor will already tell you, and you would already know, your doctor would have told you the foods you should be avoiding. If you don't have it, you don't have to put yourself under that necessary restriction. If in doubt, please contact your GP. Finally, I'm just going to talk about plant stenols. You've probably seen these guys on the shelf. Plant stenols are a way of, kind of nature's way of reducing cholesterol. And these products have plant stenols. And basically, they're in small amounts. They're very good at reducing blood LDL cholesterol. However, they're extremely expensive. So I would say, you know, continue to use what you're normally using, but use it in small amounts. But I know people who are on the borderline, they've had their cholesterol checked and it's about 4.9, and they say, you know what, I'm going to start using Benecol, I'm going to start using Flora Proactive. They're costly. The daily recommendation is about 2 grams a day, which is one of these yogurt drinks. They have milk drinks, it's 1 milk drink, or about a tablespoon of the spread. And they do have quite a beneficial effect on blood cholesterol, but they're pricey. They are pricey. So they're not a must-have, but I thought I'd mention them just in case you see them on your shelves. Okay, you've been amazing. This has been quite complex. I'm sure there are questions. I'm going to just sign out by saying saturated fats can increase total cholesterol and LDL cholesterol. Trans fats, remember those hydrogenated fats, the ones that make food last for a long time on the shelf, they increase LDL cholesterol, and they decrease or they lower the good cholesterol, HCl. So we want to watch out for them. Monounsaturated fats are our friends. They lower bad cholesterol and they increase the good cholesterol. And the omega-3, which are found in fish oils, and some of the seeds that I mentioned, they're really good for reducing the risk of stroke, because what they do is they make the blood less sticky. And finally, do get tested. After today, do something. If you're over 40, present yourself to your GP. They're probably trying to get you anyway. If not, and you're worried or you're concerned after this, lobby your GP. If they won't hear you, go to your pharmacy and buy a finger prick test, or find out if you can pay to get it done at your pharmacy. Overall, the end principle is about balance. It's all about balance. I know it's been a little bit complicated. You've been amazing. Thanks for listening. And back to you, Sister Owen.
Thank you so much, Sister Shola. Thank you so much. Amazing session. Thank you so much. Lots of questions. I did take some pictures, and if you've got any questions, you can put your hands up if you want to speak and ask the question. But I took some pictures because they kept coming. One of the questions that came was, is it only fatty or oily food that causes high cholesterol? Can you hear me? You're on mute.
So, sorry, is that question to me?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay. So is it only? Well, no. So just if we look at the last few slides, some people have a genetic disposition, which was mentioned, which is that familial hyperlipidemia. I think it's not just fatty foods, it's a combination. So do you remember I talked about, for instance, about diabetes? So if you're living with diabetes and it's especially if it's uncontrolled, there's a risk that you will also be at risk of controlling your blood cholesterol. So it's not a cause, but there's an additional risk. So it's not just fatty foods per se. I think there's a number of risks. So if you're a smoker, that will increase blood cholesterol. If you're sedentary and you're not active, therefore you may have extra weight, you may be living, overweight or obesity, you will have extra fat moving about in your blood. So and therefore the condition of your blood puts you at risk of raising your blood cholesterol. So it's not just about, I don't want us to leave here thinking it's just about fat, but diet plays a very huge part. So for instance, let's say that you eat low-fat food, but you don't move and you smoke. It's not just fat, is it? It's also about lifestyle habits and about genetics. If it runs in your family, you also need to be careful as well. So hopefully that answers your question. But diet does play a big part.
Yeah, thank you. I'm talking about not like being sedentary, because there's this misunderstanding as well that it's only when people are on the plus side that they are ill. So can you be slim and be healthy and still have high cholesterol?
Yeah, I'll call them. Yes, you can be slim and have high cholesterol. Absolutely, 100%. When I used to work in the clinics in the NHS, I had a number of patients that used to come for what we call lipid clinic, and they'd be referred because remember, we're thinking about the whole body. So if you think about blood vessels and you think about something like blood pressure, the pressure of your blood rushing around your body also has an effect on how it metabolizes food. So there are people that are very slim that have high blood cholesterol. I talked about triglycerides, the fat that's just circulating, it's just, moving around your body. Some people eat very sugary foods and they're very slim, but their blood test showed they have high triglycerides and therefore they also have high cholesterol. So it's not just about size. I know many people who are obese that don't have high cholesterol and very slim people that have high cholesterol. It's not just do you remember I keep saying it doesn't just exist in isolation? It's, you know, it's a accumulation of things. But please don't think that if you're, you know, you're large, you have it, and you're slim, you don't have it. If anything, slim people do have high blood cholesterol and high blood pressure.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. Somebody said, oh, it's Dr. Eweka, IBM doesn't equate high cholesterol. Thank you so much for that. I know the time is far gone, more than it's almost 5 o'clock. Thank you. Excuse me. I keep coughing. Thank you so much for your time. Somebody asked, I remember when we were talking about our egusi and ogbolo, somebody put a question there that, does that mean that they can have egusi and ogbolo without the oil? Does it make it healthy?
Yeah, very good question. You can actually cook your egusi soup without oil. And I know, you know, when we think about traditions, people are like, oh my God, you know, that's again, the ancestors will, you know what, the ancestors were healthier than us. They don't have this problem. But you can cook your food, you can cook your egusi without oil, but you don't have to be that extreme. Just use less oil. But we do know people that use no oil, but just be less extreme and use less oil. But so you don't have to, but you can if you want to.
Thank you. Last question. There are other questions, but due to time, last question. Another person asked, so it's vegetable oil, because we know, I personally, I remember when we had a discussion about the olive oil. When I knew that olive oil was good, I switched cooking. You know, I made my stew with olive oil. I did everything with olive oil until I read somewhere that, you know, there are different types of olive oil, like you said. So cooking with some olive oil, you're not even doing yourself any good. You know, you're actually doing more harm than good. So I stopped it. Now I use vegetable oil. So please tell us that vegetable oil is good, Sister Shola, please.
So generally, remember, we want to be using fats that are liquid at room temperature. So vegetable oil is actually, but then we're looking at the quality. Remember, we're looking at the ones that have the most unsaturated fat. So mono unsaturated fat. And that's why people choose olive oil, because it's very high in mono unsaturated fat. But other oils that are high in mono unsaturated fats, not as high as olive oil, is vegetable oils. Canola oil or rapeseed oil is a good one.
But it's very expensive. I did put it in the comment section. I think that's where social economics come in now. It's
pricey, but can I say, because of price point, can I say, try, you know, that you have what we call the blended vegetable oil. It's not fancy, but use it sparingly. So the blended vegetable oil is a mixture of some monounsaturated fat and some polyunsaturated fat, and it's mixed. It's a mixture. So it's maybe a little bit of olive oil, a little bit of corn oil, a little bit of polyunsaturated oil, but it's okay. So it's okay to use. Anything that's unsaturated is better, but still use your oil sparingly, especially now with the cost of living.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I can see you've got other engagements, and I don't want to take too much of your time. Thank you ever so much to you. Thank you to Dr. Enedi. Dr. Enedi, are you still here?
I am. I'm here listening to everything.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I would like us to finish this event now. And I want to appreciate everybody that registered, everybody that came in. Thank you so much for always supporting Divinely Classic. Sister Shola, she's got a Facebook page, Food for Purpose. If you can, please, I wish you put the link in the comment section.
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat. Just
yeah, please. Please follow Sister Shola. You know, they say Facebook is not good. I met Sister Shola on Facebook. It depends on what you do on Facebook, you know, and she's a blessing to Divinely Classic. I'll tell you that each time I'm thinking event, I'm thinking Sister Shola, you know, so she's very good. Go to her page, go to her website. She has a lot of information. And there was one time I was also a special guest on her monthly stuff, you know, so I wrote an article. So Food for Purpose is a great charity. It is a fantastic charity, and I would encourage us all to be part of it. And thank you so much, Dr. Enedi. I appreciate you. Thank you for your time. Such a short time we had to do this. because I think it was just the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks that we had to like put this together and look at it today. Thank you everyone for being here. By the grace of God, Dr. Nedi, she's very passionate about working with Divinely Classic, and she has her own charity as well. You know, please support. It's called Healthy Africa Initiative. Again, it's I'm proud of who we are. We are women health professionals who are very passionate about health promotion. You know, I was speaking to my sister yesterday. There's something, it's not about the money. It's just you want to do it. You want to impart knowledge one way or the other. And thank God that is what we are doing here. Thank you everyone for supporting Divinely Classic. Please continue to share our posts. Visit Sister Shola's page. Visit Dr. Nedi. She's on Instagram. I don't know if she's on Facebook. Can you kindly share your link here and so that others can follow? And for the cholesterol awareness, if you go to Heart UK, Sister Shola, I don't want to take too much of your time. If you think you have to leave, you can.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank
yes,
you.
Please. I do appreciate you. Thank you. Can we say thank you to our guest speakers, Sister Shola and Dr. Nedi? Please, let's just let them feel love. It is not easy. Honestly, when I go on events like this, I know the work that we put in. So please, let's say thank you to them just in the comment section.
Thank you. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
God bless
you,
you.
Sister Shola. I love you a lot.
Thank
so,
you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
We
Sister
appreciate
Cynthia. I love you. Miss
Thank
you. So
answer my last question though.
Yeah, we will answer you. I'll read the question. Okay. Yes.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
excuse me. So, you know, it's so good, you know, when we have event like this, because, you know, you want to learn, you know, you want to gain more knowledge. So thank you everyone for always supporting Divinely Classic. We do have, we are, excuse me, I don't know, I think we're making pepper in my house, so it keeps coming. That's why I'm coughing. I beg your pardon, people. You know, so we do have merchandise that we sell. If you go to our website or my WhatsApp status, you always see what I'm selling. And we also do health education. I do live videos, and times like this we bring guest speakers. So this is the one for cholesterol awareness. And Heart UK, that's what I was saying. Heart UK, what they are doing is they've split the whole of October as the month of awareness. So the first week is talking about raising awareness, which is what we are doing, teaching people about it. And I'll quickly add that there is a leaflet that I will be sending to everybody that has attended this event. Please, if you don't get a leaflet, send me a private message or WhatsApp message or email, and I'll send the leaflet to you. So that leaflet basically is just everything that we've talked about today in summary, just bits and bits and bits of it. I just want us to like share it. Let people know more about cholesterol, because if you are a healthcare professional here, you know how somebody could be standing with you this morning and in the evening, God forbid, they say that person is passed. Most times it is more cardiac related. It is cardiac related that will make somebody like say stroke or whatever. Yeah, they can be in that vegetative state for a while. But if it's like severe cardiac issue is like this, and cholesterol is, you know, leading cause of cardiac death. That's why we are drawing awareness to this. So all through the month of October, we'll be talking about cholesterol. If you follow our Facebook page, if you don't, please go and follow us on Divinely Classic Healthy Corner. We are on YouTube as well. We are on Instagram, TikTok. Seldom we go there. I don't do much on TikTok, not the dancing type, you know, but I try to share more. So this first week is all about awareness. We'll be touching on different areas. I might do a couple of live videos. Hopefully I have the time. Then next week, our post on Divinely Classic will be about diets. And to be honest, I'm going to pick on what Sister Shola has just said. I might borrow her slide. I'm being honest now, because she's basically touched on everything. Then the week after is lifestyle. Sister Dr. Nedi will help me as well on that one. And then for what Dr. Nedi and I are going to do, we are actually going for a walk. So if anybody wants to join us to raise awareness, because the purpose of this event is to raise awareness. So if anybody wants to join us, we are going for 5K walk, or if you can do maybe 2K if you're not the walking type, or 3K, but just go for a walk and raise awareness. People ask you, why are you walking? I'm raising awareness for cholesterol. We want people to know about cholesterol. And you can upload it on your social media handle using the hashtag cholesterol awareness. If you want to be extra nice to Divinely Classic, you can hashtag Divinely Classic on it as well. That will promote our brand more, and it will give us more visibility, excuse me. So that's what we'll be doing on the 3rd week, and we haven't feasted it yet, but I think it's on the maybe 18th or 21st. I'm not sure what date Dr. Nedia and I feast again, but we haven't concluded on the day. So go for a walk. Mind you, while you are doing the awareness, it's for your own body. Soon to be Dr. Shola, because she's doing a PhD now, she talked about us not being sedentary. Exercise is a good way to reduce the bad cholesterol in your body. So please, if you see me send messages out and I say, oh, this is the week that we're going for a walk, if you can, please join us. We might not meet physically, but do your walk wherever you are. If it means me actually organizing a Zoom event on a day that to do the exercise where we are all walking different places, wherever you are, Nigeria, America, Canada, I don't mind doing it, but I just want us to go out, exercise your body, talk to people about cholesterol. Even, they say charity begins at home. Everybody that is here, maybe you cook or your wife cook, you can tell them, this is what I learned from this event. This is what we should be doing. Excuse me. This is what we should be doing concerning our cholesterol. Let's educate people. Let's educate our family about cholesterol awareness, because God forbid, if one family member falls ill, it's affecting everybody. It's going to affect us. So if you're a woman here and you are the one that cook in your house, make little changes. Make little changes of how your family's health can be better to reduce the amount of bad cholesterol that they have, and whatever you need to do. And then on the last week is the reflection week. So today is October 1st. On the last day of October, I want you to say, is either I have checked my cholesterol level, or I have done exercises, or I have changed my diet. My cooking practice, I have changed it to the better, just to improve the health of my family. That's what we'll be doing in the last week. So please follow Divinely Classic, because I'm going to follow this 4th step all through the month. The first one is awareness, which is this week. Next week is diet. The week after is exercise. And the 4th week is reflection. So thank you, everyone. Somebody's asked me to admit them. Event is almost finished. One last question before we go. I think, Dr. Nedi's platform is Healthy Africa Initiative, or Healthy Initiative Africa. I'm not sure. You cut some parts off. So it says, or it's on Instagram. So please, let's go follow Dr. Nedi, just to say thank you to her and learn more as well. I'm trying to look for your question, my sister. Okay, say, when you cook with some oil and you put in the freezer, some will block, while some will just stay on the top like that. What do you think? Okay, this is an interesting one. I think where the issue was is when you put your oil in room temperature, it freezes. I think that is the bad one. When oil freezes in room temperature, that is when we can say they are not bad. But when they have been frozen, obviously it's that the temperature that has made it to become hard. So that wouldn't be bad. But I don't know, is that possible for you to, please, if we have anybody who can share, is it possible for you to put oil in the fridge and then it's still raw,
yes,
solid?
Yes, I have it. I used one oil like that, one vegetable oil. They call it Lizio vegetable oil.
Okay.
When we cook with it and put in the freezer, it will
in
not
the freezer, not even fridge.
Yes, not even fridge. It will just stay on top of your stew. When you bend it, to look as if you're trying to pour out.
I don't know, please.
That was what my mom has been using before we now turned to olive oil. Okay. So because we didn't see it, so we felt maybe it's good. So that's what I'm asking, because it's surprising. It will not block.
Any answer to that? Anybody on this platform? Because I don't know. I've never seen oil like that. Maybe that's something. I'll write that down, because what we do in events like this is I always have topics that I will go and research on, and I will do a video afterwards. So oil that is liquid, even when frozen, that's an area of research actually. So does anybody have the same experience? You can unmute yourself. This is just the informal part of it with general discussion now. Has anybody got that same experience where you freeze your oil and it's still liquid? Any answer to that, anybody? We've still got 22 people here, so let's make it. Okay, it clots. No, but Ade, you were not here when she said it. She said, even when it's frozen, it's still light. So that's interesting. Somebody's gonna give me a bit. Thank you. So has anybody seen anything like that where the oil, you put it in the freezer and it's still liquid? Yeah, somebody's asking, is that possible? I have never seen it before. It might be, you know, like I said, there's always new research, new areas to do research on. So that's a good area to go back and research on. Why would that oil still be? Somebody said, can we get the name, please? We can look more into it. What's the name of that oil, ma'am? Sister Cynthia. Okay, leisure oil, she said. But I've never heard or seen, but we'd be interested to know why it won't freeze. Yes, that's a very good question. We need to know why it doesn't freeze. Is it that it's better? Because we want the oil to be always, liquid. So why is it not freezing? Leisure oil. I'm on the internet now. Okay, leisure sunflower oil, which contains natural omega, available in English and Arabic. Okay, I've never seen this before, but okay, interesting. Please, let's go do more research on that, because it might be that maybe it's good. I will ask Sister Shola as well, because this is her area. Because she had to go, she would have given us the perfect example, or rather the perfect answer to that. But like I said, I will talk to her about it. I'll do my own research and I'll do a video on this topic. Any other contribution before we go? Anybody want to say anything? If there is none, I will say thank you, everybody. To the people that came exactly 3 o'clock, and to the people, some people just logged in now. Thank you for joining. Thank you for always supporting the Divinely Classic brand. Please, this video will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. We're sharing it live on Facebook as we speak. It will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. Please, I'll send the link out. Please like, please subscribe, please follow, please share, and continue to support Divinely Classic. Thank you so much, Sister Lisa. I appreciate you. Thank you, my brother Peter. God bless you. And please continue to support Divinely Classic. You can say, how do I support? You can support by sharing our posts. You can support by patronizing us. We do have products that we sell. And I hope you all have a good evening. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a good day. Take care. Bye-bye.